Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Mishnah Yomi is continuing for Shabbat Chanukah, Shabbat Miketz, and we are in the 12th parak, chapter 12 of Shabbat at Mishnah Dalet. Yesterday we started talking about writing on Shabbat and when someone is chayiv a carbon for having done an act of what's recognized as biblically recognized writing, 2 letters we saw, and now we're going to keep elaborating on writing on the Sabbath. Hakotev shtei otiot. Someone writes 2 letters, behelam echad, in one time of unawareness or inadvertentness, chayev. That's when he's chayev. We've mentioned before, if somebody becomes aware that it's Shabbat or aware of what he's doing in the middle of an act, like we mentioned by throwing a ball. I mean, it was a long throw. I don't know the name. The guy who throws the ball all the way down the football field. And he realized it's Shabbat in the middle, and then he forgot again. So we've had that case. So here he's writing 2 letters in one time of unawareness. Then he's chayav a carbon. We're going to contrast this to another case later. Katav b'dio, if he wrote it with ink. Besam, sam just means a chemical. The Bartner says it's orpiment in Laz. Whatever orpiment is. Sikra is another kind of a dye. It's like a red earth-based dye. The komos is a black earth-based dye, or it's gum Arabic, or guma in Old French. Kantom, or kankantum, is zag in Arabic, apparently vitriol. Ubechol davar shehu roshem, and with any chemical, any substance that leaves a permanent mark, that's important. It's not something that just flies off. Al shnei kotle zaviot, on 2 walls in the corner of the wall. So like he wrote Aleph on one wall and Beis on the next wall next to it, so you can read them together. Al shnei luche pinchas, on 2 pages of the notebook. Hen negin zemze, and you can read them at the same time. Chayiv. So that's the same with the wall and with the pages. You can read them at the same time. They're opposite pages in the book facing one another. Then he's chayiv. Mishnah continues, a kotiv al bisaru chayev, one who writes on his own flesh with ink, Bartner says, he's chayev, he's actually writing, even though eventually he's going to wash it off. Hamisartit al bisaru, somebody carves into his flesh, like he's carving with a knife, not a tattoo, God forbid, but like he's cutting. Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. Rabbi Eliezer says he's chayev chatas, it's writing deraisa. Rabbi Yeshua poter. Rabbi Yeshua says it's not writing. There is an interesting story I've heard that almost 1,000 years ago, during the Crusades, there were some of the Balei Tosfos, the men, the sages who wrote the Tosfot on the Gemara, and they were in hiding from the Crusaders. They wouldn't get murdered, and they didn't have any ink, and they had some incredible Chidushei Torah, and they actually drew a little bit of blood and used their own blood as ink, so they wouldn't lose their Divrei Torah while they were hiding from the Crusaders. Okay, great. On to Mishnah. Hey, more about writing. Kotov b'mashkin, somebody writes with liquids, like juices. B'mei perot, with fruit juice. B'avak drachim, with dust in the road. B'avak sofrim, Bartner says this is the dust of sofrim, but it means like the dried up ink residue, like the ink dust at the bottom of the inkwell. B'kol davar, and anything really, she'enu miskayim, things that don't last, things that just fade away or blow away with the breeze, pater. So since it doesn't last, it's not mekayim, it is pater. La'achar yado, he's writing with the back of his hand, like he's holding the pencil upside down. Beroglo, holding with his foot. Befiv, or in his mouth. B'mopriko, or in his armpit. Katav ot achat samuch lektav, he's writing 1 letter next to an existing letter already in a sefer. Or katav al gabei katav, he's basically tracing over existing writing. Nitkaven lichtav chet, or he's trying to write a letter chet. The cut of Shnei Zayin, and instead he writes 2 Zayin, meaning if you look in the Sefer Torah in Ksav Ashurit, the chet looks like 2 Zayin with a bridge. So he was trying to write a chet, but instead he accidentally missed the bridge, was not connected fully, and wrote 2 Zayin. And Mishnah continues, Echad ba'aretz, ve'echad b'kura. He writes 1 on the floor and 1 on the ceiling board. Katav al shnei kotlei bayit, or on 2 opposite walls of the house. Al shnei dapei pinchas, on 2 separate pages of the notebook or the ledger. Ein negin zeimzei, and you can't read them at the same time. You'd have to turn the page or unfold the notebook. Pater. Then he's pater because these 2 letters are not together. Mishnah concludes, Katav ot echat. He writes 1 single letter. but it's notarikon. Notarikon means it's an abbreviation. It stands for something. The Bartenura says something. It's kuf for carbon, or mem for meiser, tav for truma. We recall we talked about these when we talked about meiser and trumot. So it's notarikon. Rabbi Yeshua ben Betera mechayev. Rabbi Yeshua says because this one letter actually stands for a whole word, it's as if he wrote the word because we understand what he means. It's mem for meiser, it's kuf for korban. We understand what he means. We should be chayev. Chachamim poachim. The Chachamim say this one letter. It's not two letters. So lamaisa he's putter. So tzorchiyun for Shabbos Chanukah, what letter or symbol or writing was on that pach, that one jar of uncontaminated oil that they found, that apparently it had some sort of insignia on it that they knew it was tahor, and they knew it was from the Kohen Gadol, and it was sealed up. So maybe it just had a tet for tahor. Could be. Shabbat shalom, Rabbatai. Chazag Aruch.